Welcome to r/RedditRevenge. This is a story of someone getting back at someone with revenge after being wronged. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. We had one set of neighbors that were absolutely awful people, so I set my loudest ever made alarm clock to go off at 2 and 3 a.m. The second story. We convinced the new potential roomie to run the other way because ex-roomie is crazy. New girl ends up not moving in and crazy loses out on around $8K plus her portion of the deposit. The third story. Queen colleague decided that she would not work and pretended to be sick. She did not expect the managers to find out about it. Today's first story is the worst neighbors meet the loudest alarm clock. It was a bit of a nightmare, though back when I remembered it vividly, it captivated the few people I told it to. Some backstory. I lived on the top level of a 3-story condo where everyone got along for the most part. It was built rather cheaply so you could hear your neighbors both ways. A guy moved in below us, and not too long after he met a girl at a bar maybe 6 states over, who immediately moved in with him because he was going to be a surgeon. Our interactions with them. I'm not without fault, but we tried being nice. Even brought them baked goods a few times, but they were absolutely miserable people. A small glimpse. They would go into full-out red-faced scream fests at us, or call the police for things like walking too loudly, told me to learn to walk on my toes, then called the police when I hadn't. I should clarify I'm not overweight, and I don't walk around like an elephant. These people were just nuts. Airboxing for maybe a minute during a movie. By myself. Also not the movie volume as I kept it low. My dog barking from inside my unit, ironically at their pounding for the dogs to be quiet. Incidentally, it's not illegal. Source, the officer that left a note for us. At one point when I told her not to come up again unless something changed, she decided to physically force entry into my condo as I was closing the door with her foot and arms. I completely changed persona and swore at her loud enough to make her back up across the hallway and locked her out. She called the police, but the officer ended up telling them off and leaving after talking to everyone. The officer actually gave me his card in case it happened again, but unfortunately he moved or got a different job soon after. I could go on, but you get the idea. Every time I walked across the floor, I wondered if I was going to have to deal with a screaming neighbor or the police. And honestly, that was the worst of it because they never went away. Others' interactions. Just for a bit more of a taste as to who these people are. They yelled at the real estate agent in person and on the phone about how SH of a place it was, well after the sale, over and over, until she stopped taking their calls. Agent told them they bought the place and they could sell it if they were too stupid to do their due diligence. Then they went and yelled at the construction workers at the next buildings multiple times for doing a cheap job. Loud enough for us to hear across the back area through the closed window and in another room. These people actually ruined their downstairs neighbor's wedding patio furniture by removing a grease trap on their grill. I'm almost certain on purpose. Among other things like wearing heels at 3 a.m. and vacuuming because she didn't have a job. Who vacuums in heels? At 3 a.m. I should probably clarify our bottom floor neighbors were very nice, good people that kept to themselves. This was very one-sided. The next thing that comes to mind was the laughably loud borderline no way private moments, as my other neighbor called them. Getting woken up by it was odd and annoying, but hearing it in broad daylight was pretty funny. Revenge. I honestly hadn't done anything to them on purpose at this point, though I know I'm not without fault. There's also a lot of details that I didn't go into as this is long already. Okay, one more. Including them trying to sue us. The lawyer turned them down because apparently walking on the floor isn't a documentable type of damage, which I only found out through happenstance. Anyway, time to move out. We put the place on the market. At the time, I happened to use the loudest ever made alarm clock that got me up just fine at 30% volume. It was a great clock because it had 2 settings, one for me and one for my wife. I set that loudest ever made alarm to max volume for 2 and 3 a.m. and put it on the ground, in the bedroom because the layout meant it wouldn't bother anyone but them. I honestly had no idea if it worked, and imagined it to be maybe a minor annoyance if anything until a few days later my real estate agent, same as before because she did a good job, we didn't know her outside of this, called me very apologetic. Apparently there was a complaint from you-know-who about an impossibly loud alarm clock going off for 4 hours, which the agent didn't think was possible. It's not. They were exaggerating by a wide margin, but that didn't stop me from laughing my A off. I ended up playing stupid because I would be in the area a few days later, so I stopped by and grabbed the alarm clock. Last item to move. The next story is being a crazy bee costs about $8,000. So I'll spare you guys the crazy antics of my ex-roommate. Just know she's the type of person who picks a fight with everyone and everything, and her mommy and daddy raised her to believe she's a special snowflake who can do no wrong. Also know that we paid our rent beforehand. So this B is moving out. Other roommate and I get no heads up, but that's fine cause good riddance. She leaves the place an absolute mess and doesn't throw out her garbage or kitchen stuff. She even left her dirty bowl in the effing sink. After a couple days, we decide to reach out and ask if she's gonna come back and clean the rest or rent the room out. She just insults me, answering none of my questions except that we can clean out the kitchen. Fine, I tell her I'm keeping her deposit for cleaning expenses, and we throw out all her SH in the common room. Side note, stupid B tried to list apartment, yes her empty room, on Airbnb, and gets called out by management. Fast forward a couple days and she texts my other roommate that she's gonna call the cops, sue us, cause we broke the law, etc. Why? Cause we threw out her SH in the kitchen. Now we have it in writing that this B said we could do explicitly that, but we wait around for the cops. Fun fact, this is the second time she called the cops on me. The cops read the text and are like, WTF, you said they could throw it out. She insists she was giving us permission to throw out our stuff. Okay. After way too much time, the cops finally convince her there's nothing they can do, cause this is a civil matter and escape. She's already talking to a lawyer, she says. She's gonna evict us. Cool. Have fun with that. Couple more days go by and I get an email that her friend is moving in that day. My roommate doesn't even get a heads up and just sees them walking into the apartment. I go to management cause this SH is not okay. Turns out she added her friend as a guest and was trying to sneak her in, bypassing the background check, $800 processing fee, and other legal SH with the lease. She also tried to trick the doorman into letting them move furniture. Management tells her she can't do that and to have someone move in the rest of us must agree. Ha! You can bet your A I'm stalling that SH. Meanwhile, she calls my roommate at work. Crazy B pretends to be a relative so she can talk to her and says we should all get dinner and put this behind us. My roommate tells her to never contact her again. A day of waiting and she's starting to get angsty. She picks a fight with management and threatens us, saying her parents are going to move into the space instead. Radio silence from us. Day 2. At night, of course, we email management saying we're cool with the new girl. We didn't even stall that long, but new girl says she no longer has any intention of moving in. We might have also told her the B was bad SH crazy and to run the other way. That's about $800 of rent money she's not getting back. Her portion of the deposit is also ours now. Don't be an entitled B if you're actually a dumb F. Edit. There seems to be some confusion here. Her equals B was never because she moved out. Without notice, haha. Her equals B because she was a crazy roommate. Edit 2. She was too lazy to find someone else and didn't want to associate with us because we're so low, so the rest of the lease we actually never saw her. While I get what you're saying, this would have all eventually blown up. Management would have found out. If we let her get her way and that poor girl would have been effed over. Edit 3. My other roommate is actually legitimately scared of the crazy one. Like one day we'll come home and she'll be standing in our kitchen holding a knife, scared. We also figured having someone else there meant we didn't need to deal with the crazy anymore. In the end, it all worked out though, I guess. Haven't heard from her again since. The last story is, she faked her injury. We had a coworker who always attempted to get out of doing just about every single task at our store. She had been there for about 15 years, so the managers just coddled her along because if they pushed her too hard, they knew she'd make a huge scene or file a lawsuit. It was absolutely ridiculous what this woman would get away with, and it greatly irritated all the employees. She came to work one day, complaining that she had sprained her ankle at home and would now require a chair to sit on between waiting on customers at the register. It's important to note that she did not have a doctor's note for this ailment. It also meant that she could no longer assist restocking shelves on truck day, nor participate in removing sales tags and putting up the new sales tags, which are huge time-consuming tasks for the entire staff. She'd just sit on her throne, as we called it, and read her trashy romance novels all day long, when she didn't have customers to ring up. Pretty cozy setup, right? The rest of us were out on the floor working our tails off while she just sat there reading and munching on whatever snacks she brought with her that day. After about 2.5 weeks of her whining about her still sore ankle, one day her husband was really late in picking her up after her shift, so she just gathered up her handbag, books, and put away her throne. As she's walking to the door to leave, she casually states to me, "I'm tired of waiting around, so just tell my husband that I walked down to McDonald's. I'm hungry, so he can just pick me up there." McDonald's is about 3 blocks down the road, quite a distance for a person with a bad ankle to walk. 20 minutes later, her husband arrived and asked the store manager where she is. The store manager had no idea, and so he asked me. I told him the truth. She said she was hungry, so she walked down to McDonald's to get something to eat. She told me to tell you to pick her up there. As the husband exits the store manager turns around and furiously grabs her throne, throws it in his office, locks it, and announces, "We're done playing this game." She never got her throne back after that incident, and we all rejoiced when she finally quit a month later. Update edit. She had a royal hissy fit the next day over losing her throne. Pun intended. The manager put her on a 90-day probation period for this stunt. I wasn't at work when the SH hit the fan, but my coworkers all said they could hear her screaming from inside the manager's office and they were all laughing. When she finally emerged from her tongue lashing in the manager's office, she was very quiet and moped all day, trying to gain sympathy from the customers until the manager stopped her by stating, in front of the customers, "If you're healthy enough to walk 3 blocks to McDonald's, you're healthy enough to do your job standing like everyone else. Any more comments on this and I'm sending you home." She was so furious that she called in sick for the rest of the week. Finally, the store manager called and told her that if she didn't report to work for her next shift, he'd demand a doctor's note for her 4-day absence or fire her. He also reminded her that she was on probation, so she better get healed real quick. She came to work the next day, miraculously healed. It was a miracle. Next, the store manager assigned her to work some closing shifts with me, because she always refused them before. The manager told me in confidence that he did this because he knew I wouldn't allow her to slack off on the closing shift duties. He was correct. During the entire shift, I kept reminding her of the duties she had to complete before she left, and she kept telling me that she's just going to leave when her husband comes to get her. Fine, but only if you've completed all of your job. We can both stay here all night if that's what it takes. The choice is yours. I'm not the one on probation. When she realized that she wasn't going to get around to me, she finally got busy, and again, another miracle. She completed all her tasks before closing. 2 weeks later, she gave notice. The queen finally gave up her throne. Edit number 2. Just so we're clear, the queen's throne was a simple folding chair. It sat too low to run the register from a seated position, so she had to stand to ring customers out. Edit number 3. The queen could have used her throne to help us out by at least restocking candy at the register counter, but she refused, saying it was too much for her to move her throne around like that. We offered to move it for her, but she claimed she didn't want to disrupt our work. She enjoyed dictating orders from her throne. She would constantly call us to the front like we were her personal servants, knowing she was disrupting our work. I'm thirsty. Get me a Coke out of the cooler. I'm hungry. Grab me a bag of chips and a couple of Slim Jims. I'm bored. Go see if the New People magazine came in yet on the magazine rack. If anyone found some task she could do while sitting, she would drag the task out all day and still never finish it. Now, mind you, these were extremely simple tasks that a normal person could have completed them in 10 to 15 minutes, but not the queen. The queen, sitting all day on her throne, wasn't the real issue here. We were more than accommodating with her constant disrupting demands. It was her flat-out refusal to do any work at all. Edit number 4. I'm not trying to fight it, but rather explain that it's not how this store and their company policies are set up. If you're not ringing up customers, you're to go to work on other assigned tasks. Nobody is to just sit around on a folding chair reading and eating all day. Subscribe, click the like button if you want to support the channel. Thank you for watching.